This video will come as a shock to many. I know the puns are unbearable, but honestly I cannot stop myself.
Welcome to the League of Legends Deathmatch. Take two champions, take away the meta, and pit them against each other in a duel to the death. I took it upon myself to research their lore, equipment, and abilities to see who would come out on top. No items, no summoner spells, no teams to back them up or hold them back. A 1v1 in the purest form, a deathmatch.
Do you ever wonder why lightning comes from the sky?
Well, lightning is the occurrence of a natural electrical discharge of a very short duration between a cloud and the ground or within a cloud, accompanied by a bright flash and typically also thunder.
Am I an educational content creator now? But on the Rift, there are only two Thor impersonators, not including the orange skin. Kennen, the Heart of the Tempest, and Volibear, the Thunder's Roar. There is an ancient order that began in the Ionian Islands, dedicated to the preservation of balance. Order, chaos, light, darkness, pepperoni, cheese, work, play, fried chicken, salad, sleep and being an active member of society, water, earth, fire, air. Long ago, the four nations, just kidding. If it needs balance, the king well, whoever they are, they balance stuff, and Riot probably needs to learn from them. Kennen is one of these legendary warriors, and before you ask, yes, he is a guy. He is not a girl. Deal with it. He was born in Bandle City, and he blasted from his mom's hoo-ha the instant he was born, and the midwife who delivered him. He was a nightmare of a child with a bottomless pit of energy that only seemed to increase as he grew up. But he was able to use this energy well since he's the fastest thing alive. Wait, I can't say that. He's really, really fast. But he didn't use his speed for anything but pranks. He was never caught, he was just an asshole. But when he was dared to run up the great outer wall of the Placidium, whatever the heck that is, it was so impressive that it reached the those guys. And Riot, being the wonderful lore keepers they are, kept it very short. He was requested for an audience, became the Heart of the Tempest, and teamed up with Shen and Akali to make the Ninja Power Trio that make a dang good TV show. I mean, if Zed, being the bad guy, wouldn't get a copyright strike from TMNT, because he looks exactly like Shredder. Also, in case you're wondering why I flame Riot so much for their lore upkeep, just take a look at Kennen and Akali's lore. The first paragraph is almost exactly the same. They literally only changed Shen's because of his update a little while back. Like, come on. Kennen is armed with his ninja training and his shurikens. He also has the ability to control the Mark of the Storm. If he is able to get enough marks on his target, he stuns them for 1.5 seconds and gains energy, most likely by siphoning it from his target. If he does this too often, however, he cannot stun them for as long. He can empower a shuriken even further and calls it Thundering Shuriken. He throws a fast-moving shuriken that instantly applies a stack of his passive and does more damage. If his enemy is already electrified with a Mark of the Storm, he can use Electrical Surge to damage them and mark them again. This control of lightning extends to his shurikens. He builds up energy by throwing them, finally charging one enough to apply a Mark of the Storm and deal more damage. He can also take on a lightning form that can pass through enemies, and he siphons energy as he passes through them, and is a bit faster in this form, but can only do this for a few seconds. And like Storm from X-Men, he can summon a lightning storm in order to strike nearby enemies. But this only lasts 3 seconds and gets weaker over the duration. I could explain this scientifically with an explanation of the discharge thing, but the fact that I said discharge made your mind go somewhere else. But each hit of it applies a Mark of the Storm. He may be small and annoying, but his speed and control of lightning are not something to be taken lightningly. I say again, lightningly. I'll forget it. The Heart of the Tempest beats eternal, and those beaten remember eternally. Who wrote this? The Great White North that's north of the North, also known as the Freljord, is home to the Urzine, warmongering bears that have survived the barren tundra for thousands of years. History recorded all their legendary feats in battle, but as time went on, the triumvirate who led the Urzine led them into isolation to avoid the petty affairs and conflicts that surrounded them. Volibear served as a shaman to these leaders, and was a respected sage known for his insight. But we all know what sages really do to get their insight. Oh, so good. But while he was smoking a doobie one day, he realized that the prosperity they lived in was also making so that many had forgotten the art of war. He told the Triumvirate what he observed, and they refused to listen to him, and told him to go sit back down with his weed. He probably should have used some eye drops before that meeting so they didn't know he was fried. Going from pothead to mystical monk, he began the climb to the peak of the Urzine's sacred mountain, which had an eternal maelstrom encompassing the peak. I mean, I like thunderstorms, but that doesn't mean I want to go climb in one. I mean, maybe he was still high. I swear I don't come up with these, they just come. But this storm was mystical in nature, and legends of the Urzine held that the Tempest would crown the next chieftain. Once he reached the peak, he was instantly struck by lightning. Well, gee, just climbed into a storm cloud and got struck by lightning. Dumbass. But this thunderbolt was unnatural, and possessed him with visions of being totally consumed by darkness, and his complacent people were slaughtered by ice creatures. He had to warn them to take up arms again to ensure that this did not happen. But as he was traveling back to relay what he had experienced, the Triumvirate cut him off, both in traveling and in speech, and told him that if he didn't stuff his message where the sun didn't shine, they'd do it for him, and then kill him. Determined to get his message to the Urzine, he attacked the trio. Just as he was about to lose, he called upon his newfound power and bitch-slapped all three of them down with lightning. Now that's badass. But this was all the Triumvirate needed to know that he was really chosen by Maelstrom, and appointed him as the new leader of the Urzine. He whipped them all into shape, allied with Sejuani, and prepared for the darkness that inevitably would come. It's actually not bad lore, until you look at Ornn, his brother. So this race of bear-resembling people, like that's the definition of Urzine, had a leader who is somehow the brother of a demigod who has ram horns and breathes fire. Riot, what are you doing? Seriously, in Ornn's lore, it makes it seem like the Urzine following him are actually half-bear, half-human hybrids. Creepy. Most likely trying to please the demigod Volibear, who in this lore is as big as Ornn, who is as tall as 2 or so trees. And this doesn't really line up with his original lore that he wasn't their leader before they were the Urzine. So again, riot. Riot! Go to your room, clean up this mess, and maybe you won't get grounded. They're not listening. Yet. But someday, they'll actually get the lore straightened out, and I will be so proud. But they probably won't unless they rework Volibear, and people remember he's a champion that isn't just a side character to Ornn's lore. Now back to Volibear, despite his actual origins. The consistent thing is, he's a great big lightning bear with supernatural strength and power. He has his bear armor and his claws as weapons. He is also the chosen of the storm, which I guess means that the magical storm that gave him power heals him when he's low health. Okay. When he charges in, he calls it Rolling Thunder. This is also the name of the march you're listening to right now. He drops to all fours and thus is able to run faster. When he's chasing an enemy, this movement speed is quicker, because he's probably pissed at whoever he's chasing. I mean, honestly, have you seen a bear run at someone? They're fast. Really fast. Especially if they're mad. Oh, and he burger flips the first person he catches. Yeah, very bear-like. Wow. Volibear also becomes more adamant the longer he fights, gaining attack speed. He can also bite his target, dealing a huge chunk of damage, or executing them if they're already wounded enough. He can also shout you to death like Ulfric Stormcloak, using his majestic roar, which slows his target and deals damage. Finally, he is able to summon lightning from his hands, striking whoever he hits. This can chain to other targets as well, so he can wave clear without a Tiamat, or possibly tickle the backline in teamfights. Jeez, no wonder people forgot he was a champion. He is very strong and easily angered. Ever heard the phrase, "don't poke the bear"? Yeah. Don't do it. Also, considering Ornn's lore didn't result in the change in Volibear's original lore, we're going to ignore it for this fight, because honestly, it'd go like this. So yeah, no demigod bear for the sake of viewership. Also, I just want to emphasize that the lore is so screwed up that I literally can't use both, so I have to use the one that they actually gave to Volibear.
Alright, now that you've met the champions participating in today's battle, who will win? It's time to find out.
Big targets are the best. There's more to aim at.
A fool and his head are easily parted.
Obviously, this would be a close matchup. Both control lightning, so their lightning attacks against each other would only have a limited effect. That being said, both have a lot of background in using their respective fighting styles. But ultimately, Volibear would have the upper hand. Yes, Kennen has the speed and ranged advantage, but Volibear is also quick for his size. And while everyone loves a David and Goliath story where the little guy wins, this isn't it. Volibear would be relatively immune to the lightning attacks Kennen has, and his armor and battle experience would make him hard to take down with just shurikens. I mean, have you ever seen someone try to take down a bear barreling at them with just a pistol? Now imagine you don't even have the pistol, and you have shurikens instead. Kennen would throw these hard enough to do some damage, but Volibear is just too beefy for it to have had too much of an effect. And even if it did, you'd be able to have his storm save him by regenerating him. Wow, that's so dumb. Riot, please change his lore and the description for this ability. It literally makes absolutely no sense. I don't care if this video becomes obsolete because of it. It bothers me. And since the only thing that made Kennen special is his control over lightning and his speed, and that had no effect on Volibear, ultimately, Volibear's strength would win out in the end. The winner is Volibear. Next time on Deathmatch.